quite a game for the Tide, as now not only their college football playoff hopes look pretty strong, but also now the SEC potential championship game looks much more in its sight. But a lot to get into today. But let's start with what happened down in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. This is the way it sounded on the LSU radio network.
Right to left towards the north end zone here at Tiger Stadium. Shotgun snap, and there goes Milroe, the lead blocker. And Milroe's got the first down, and he's loose across midfield to the 35-30, 25-20, 15-10-5. Milroe with his fourth rushing touchdown of the night, 72 yards. Alabama starts the fourth quarter doing just what we up here were afraid they would do. 34-6, they now lead LSU with a point after upcoming.
And you think about it, it wasn't even that close, Landrum, to be completely honest with you.
No, my question was going to be to LSU fans. Deep down, when did you know? How soon in that game did you know that Alabama was going to absolutely wipe the field with you? Because for me watching the game, it didn't take me long.
No. It was the one thing that you knew that LSU had to do, which was stop the guy that had 4 touchdowns last year at Bryant-Denny Stadium. That was the one job, what they did for 2 weeks and going into the bye week. I mean, that's where the questions should come in. And we've got plenty of time that we can dissect and make fun of LSU and Brian Kelly. We got plenty of time to do that. But the Alabama game plan, the thing that impressed me the most was not only did Jalen Milroe, who was challenged over the course of the last week or so down in Tuscaloosa at practice, and he answered the call. He absolutely, when the coaches required him to do more, when the coaches were pushing him at practice, guess what? Jalen Milroe stepped up and he delivered. But I want to give major kudos to Kane Womack and that defensive staff and what they did. And being able to pin their ears back, especially when LSU just had such an anemic running attack that you literally could go after Nussmeier. You could show the look. I mean, that reminded me of Bill Oliver, what he did in the 1992 National Championship game against Miami. Let's bring everybody up in the box and let that offensive line, who had a different left guard starting for them, let those guys try to figure out from a communication standpoint who you got. Now, Bama was able to get to the quarterback twice, but you're talking about an offensive line that only gave up 4 sacks the entire season. Bama got 2, but they made Nussmeier very uncomfortable, and they were able to get the turnovers when they needed to. So the Alabama defense did their job, and the offense, this was old joyless murder ball that you saw in Baton Rouge.
Well, in that first drive for Alabama, you get the false start, and that is never a way that you want to begin a football game, especially in a hostile environment. You're encouraging all of those LSU fans that, hey, noise is going to make a difference. You get the step off, but then on second down and 14, you get Milroe, looks like he's in trouble. He scrambles away, uses his legs, creates, and then who is open? Who finds himself wide open? It's Ryan Williams. Then later on that drive, a 3rd and 9. That's something that we previewed the game on Friday, and we talked about Alabama has not been good on 3rd and longs. They got to stay out of 3rd and longs. Well, they were tested with that 3rd and 9 early in the game. Once again, they answered the bell. Alabama, Jalen Milroe, you talk about 185 yards. I thought that he would get his. Never in my wildest dreams did I think, with the emphasis that LSU was going to have on the defensive side of the ball, that they would be able to keep him relatively in check. But it was Jalen Milroe just doing whatever he wanted to do all night.
You mentioned that first drive, Jalen Milroe on that opening drive. He was 3 of 3 passing, 38 yards. And, of course, he had 1 rush, and it was a big one.
1st and 10, Alabama at the LSU 39-yard line. Shotgun snap.
We'll try to get that on in a little bit.
Guys started drinking early.
Yeah, must have. Alabama, though, 2 touchdown drives, 23 plays, 11 minutes and 15 seconds. That was their time of possession. So Bama took a 21-6 lead into the half. Milroe had 97 yards rushing with 2 touchdowns, 95 yards passing at intermission. LSU was held to 150 yards of offense there in the first half. But then you got to the start of the third quarter, and it was big because LSU was able to get the ball. And then they had a situation where they started driving the ball. They started eating up the clock. It was a 14-play drive that conceived over 6 minutes of the clock before Nussmeier did this.
Under 9 minutes to play, third quarter. 2nd down, goal to go from the Alabama 4. Shotgun snap. Nussmeier fakes the toss to Williams and then throws an interception at the goal line to Deontay Lawson. Threw it right to him.
That's always a bad sign when you hear the crowd react and the announcer doesn't say much.
I went back and I watched that play 5 times because I'm trying to figure out what Garrett Nussmeier was looking at, and apparently he's thinking that defender is going to continue to go in coverage and break off if you're looking at the Alabama secondary to the left, and he threw to a spot and he hit him right in the hands. But yeah, and I thought that they said it perfectly on the broadcast on Saturday, Pat, because it was late in the game. All you really saw left in the stands were miserable LSU fans and Alabama fans that were celebrating. And to paraphrase what was said, it was not many teams have the good fortune of coming in here and getting to witness this, where for much of the second half, this game's not in doubt, and you get to enjoy a Saturday night in Tiger Stadium in Death Valley. But that's exactly what Alabama did. And Alabama, they have LSU's number in that stadium. And we have text coming in. I don't see what the big deal is about Tiger Stadium at night. Well, ask everybody else who plays there, because Alabama is just, they're the anomaly to that equation.
All right, so we talk about Milroe. He had 12 rushes, 185 yards, 4 touchdowns. He was over like 190 something, and then he had a negative play, which brought him back to 185. But this is the way he capped off his night there, courtesy of the LSU Radio Network.
Milroe. Jam Miller on a wing to his left. 3 wide receivers to the right, and it's going to be Milroe keeping it. And Milroe splits defenders, and into the end zone he goes for his 3rd rushing touchdown, this time from 19 yards out. And that will make it 27-6 Alabama.
And it was pretty much over from that standpoint. But I do want to throw out a major kudos to the Alabama offensive line. You know, I was on my way down to the beach on Friday, and I heard Barrett Salee give his prediction for the game. And I heard him go on and on about how Alabama was going to make all these mistakes and how LSU there at Tiger Stadium, the magical night game at Tiger Stadium, was going to beat Alabama. Heard him say that multiple times. You guys gave him possible outs to change his decision on his pick. But it just was struck me as funny as he kept going on and on about the discipline or the undisciplined nature of the Alabama football team and how LSU was going to take advantage of that. Well, Alabama's offensive line had 1 penalty all night. And guess what? It was on the first play of the entire game. And guess what? When you look at their stats, if you dive deep into the offensive line and what they did, they only gave up 6 pressures the entire night. 6. Okay? But 1 penalty. Now, granted, you had a little bit of, body of work there at Tennessee, and you saw what happened at other games in which, especially in the early part of the season, the offensive line had issues, but they came to play. I mean, they were able to set the edge. They were able to do things to open up those holes, because a lot of those, Jalen Milroe ran right between the tackles. I mean, this wasn't like some fluky play where somebody fell down on the edge. I mean, he was able to get to the edge and run effectively all night long. So the offensive line did really well. Through 8 games, LSU's passing offense, and we talked about this last week, they had the 6th best passing offense in all of college football. They were averaging 333 yards per game. They threw 239 against Alabama. And the majority of that 239 came on that final drive where Alabama had their backups in, and basically they were playing a prevent, which was amazing. Another asinine move by Brian Kelly. Why do you have Garrett Nussmeier in the game with LSU down 42-6? And you know what? And those Alabama players pinning their ears back, going after him, it wasn't cheap shots. It was the fact that they're playing football. I go back to what Steve Spurrier used to say back in the day. It's your job to stop me. Well, you know what? If you're going to have your starting quarterback in, and he's going to be throwing down 42-6, I'm coming after him. Well, and I was glad to see Womack bring the pressure. Well, and for Alabama
to get those 42 points, that last touchdown, you had reserves in. And
they're running the ball.
Yeah, you basically, I don't know, I can't remember. I know he went off to the left, that was some kind of counter play or whatever. But yeah, it was a textbook play. Now we have for Kalen DeBoer, now we have 2 examples of off of a bye week and giving him and this team an extra week to prepare. They play their best football. A great example was, of course, the first half, but winning the game against Georgia at home, but then going on the road playing almost mistake-free football on the offensive side, and then what we got from the defense and being dialed in and knowing exactly what LSU's plan of attack was going to be and being able to limit it for the most part, very, very impressive.
I mean, Jahad Campbell, probably his best game as an Alabama Crimson Tide. He was elite against LSU. He had 2 sacks, 2 hurries, 4 total pressures, 9 tackles, 0 missed tackles, 8 stops, 1 forced fumble, 3 targets, only 1 reception when he was in coverage, -1 yards, and 1 pass breakup. That was Jahad Campbell. Just an incredible night. I do feel really bad about a young man that you've known for a very long time in Q Robinson. Used to call his games over at Jackson Olin. He is lost for the season with an arm injury. It was a nasty looking situation that took place. Q was playing a heck of a game too. So,
yeah, it was.
And that will be a miss on that Alabama defense.
It will be. I hate it for him as a player, but Q, an outstanding young man, and he's got a bright future and always smiling and always going full speed. So that really stinks. But a guy in his 5th season at Alabama, and I feel like he's going to get an opportunity to play somewhere. Might not be the NFL, but at some other level, at least he'll get that opportunity coming out of Tuscaloosa when his career is all said and done at the collegiate level. But yeah, you're right, Pat. That was gruesome.
Jalen Milroe joins Sean Alexander as the only players in Alabama history to have multiple games with 4+ rushing touchdowns. Alexander had 5 against BYU back in 1998 and 4 against LSU back in 1996. Milroe had 4 against LSU last season. And on Saturday, only 8 players in Alabama history have scored 4+ rushing touchdowns in a game. 16 touchdowns rushing at Bama, most by any quarterback in the history of Alabama football. So Jalen Milroe now has that.
Think he's okay health-wise?
Yeah, pretty much so. Here's Kalen DeBoer on his team's big win against LSU.
Just super proud of the guys, the way they prepared. I think led them to a place where had some pretty good confidence coming in. Just felt like the energy was there all week long, and as the week kind of progressed, you could just feel that we're on top of our game and understood what it would take to come here and play 4 quarters. I felt like that was probably most complete game we've played. We've done that to some extent here the last two games against Missouri and tonight. So coming in a tough environment, just play after play, just staying the course, and then coming out in the 3rd quarter, getting an interception. I think, just going back down the field and playing good complementary team football.
In the last 67 years, Alabama has had 9 head coaches. 9 in 67 years. Only one of them failed to win their first game inside Tiger Stadium. That was Mike Shula. Shula was 0-4 versus LSU, by the way. So Tide has now won 12 of 14 matchups against LSU, dating back to the 2011 National Championship. Since 2007, Alabama has won 7 of 9 games inside Tiger Stadium. Alabama, do you realize, has more wins in Tiger Stadium, 30, than LSU has against Alabama completely in the series. Let me say that again, folks. Alabama owns LSU inside that stadium. 30 wins. LSU has 27 wins total against the Alabama football team in the history of that series that dates back a very, very long time. Kalen DeBoer, he's now 33-2 in the month of November as a head coach. That 9-0 November record as a power conference head coach. That's even more impressive. He's now 15-3 in his career against top 25 opponents. So if he wants to wear a tank top on the sideline or a 3-piece suit or a hoodie, I think they're okay with that based on those numbers. When we come back on 3-Man Front, we will get the LSU side of things as Brian Kelly has got a lot of explaining to do. How his team played so poorly with the season on the line. Now LSU could be potentially in store for their 3rd consecutive 9-3 season if they win the rest of their games. We'll hear from Brian Kelly. More reaction nationally as Alabama smacks LSU around. At the top of the hour, we'll hear from Hugh Freeze as they're back on the field this week against La Monroe. 12 o'clock, Kalen DeBoer. 1 o'clock, we will talk to Bill Clark. This is 3-Man Front on Reaction Monday, 1-800-239-WJOX. It is 1019, Jocks 94.5. This is Reaction Monday. Your texts are welcome. Brought to you by Courtesy GMC, 205-834-9450. How about Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson? That is coming up later this week. The Kid takes on the King of one of the most anticipated exhibition events in boxing history. Don't miss this phenomenon. Get your corner together in the Axes in the Lodge on November the 15th and witness Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson live for the best sports bar in the game. Available live at participating locations. Contact your favorite store for more info in Hoover. That's right. Jake Paul, Mike Tyson there at Twin Peaks in Hoover. They also bring us the Twin Peaks Twitter poll question of the day, Molly, and it has to do with the confidence level now of Alabama making the CFP.
Yeah, what is your current confidence level of Alabama making the college football playoff? Is it high, moderate, or low? And right now winning with 52% of our voters saying high, 38 saying moderate, and 10% saying low.
Landry, I'm a little bit surprised that it was not more than 52% because with that beat down and the way Alabama ran the football, I mean, you would think that a lot more people have confidence that the CFP is well within reach, and they will check that box.
Conrad's pessimism starting to wear off on Alabama fans, or maybe they're just fading in hopes that the opposite happens. Friday in our Twitter poll question of the day, it was what's more likely to happen this weekend, and at last check, and I don't know how the results ended up, but it was LSU upsetting Alabama. That was who was getting the most votes. The most likely to happen this past weekend.
And it did win. It was at 34% of the audience said that LSU would end Bama's college football hopes.
That was surprising to me.
Yeah. So, that was very interesting, to say the very least, what happened. Let's hear from the wonderful coach of the LSU Bengal Tigers. He had a lot of questions to answer after the game. Here's Brian Kelly.
If you're watching the game, you're like, what did these guys do for 2 weeks? Like, we have a scheme to stop the quarterback. We did not get that done. So I take responsibility for it. Blake is not going to hide from the responsibility, but we also have to put our players in the right position to take advantage of what they're capable of doing. So we own it together, and we've got to get it fixed, certainly.
Better hurry.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you got to go to Florida. You're a 4.5, 5-point favorite on the road in Gainesville, but let's take a look at this LSU team. You lost to a very bad USC team. You get destroyed by Texas A&M in one half of football. You get destroyed by 4 quarters by the Alabama football team. You never led Ole Miss until the final play of the game against the Rebels. You would have lost to South Carolina if Lenora Sellers had not gotten hurt. I'm just giving you kind of the highlights or lowlights of this season for Brian Kelly. Brian Kelly is now 4-8 against ranked teams at LSU. If he wins out, he will finish his 3rd consecutive year with a 9-3 record. I said it the other night on Twitter, and I will maintain this. You want to talk about coaches on the hot seat for 2025 in the SEC, and he is squarely on that hot seat.
Yeah. That's something me and Conrad talked about on Friday. Now with an expanded playoff, and you see more of your peers from around your conference breaking in. And maybe, I think he overachieved in year 1 in getting to a title game. We will all agree on that.
Yeah, because he got lucky against Alabama.
But then you have what you had on the offensive side of the ball last year. Heisman winning quarterback, 2 NFL wide receivers, but you had a putrid defense, and you finished 10-3. And now this year, you could maybe drop the game there in Gainesville. I would expect that you win the game at home versus Vandy and win the game at home to end the regular season versus Oklahoma. But LSU fans don't want to hear that. They don't care. You finished 10-3, 11-3. If you're not in the college football playoff, that's how all of these coaches are going to be judged, especially one like Brian Kelly. You were brought in to contend and to win championships.
Now, keep this in mind. He left Notre Dame for one reason only, is because LSU, they were going to support the football program, and they were going to be able to be put into a position to play for a national championship. That's what he said when he took the job. He is 4-8 against ranked opponents. You know what Marcus Freeman's record is at Notre Dame right now against ranked opponents? He is 10-4. 10-4, 6 games over 500, and Notre Dame's going to the college football playoff.
I mean, think about this. Texas A&M's in a better spot right now than LSU is in terms of making the college football playoff, and that was, I think we all agreed when Mike Elko took over that he's a good coach, but it's probably going to take a while, and all we've heard for Brian Kelly for 3 years now is, we got to get the roster to where it can compete with Alabama and Georgia, and it's, man, you're LSU. How are you not in a better position 3 years into the Brian Kelly era than Texas A&M is less than 1 year with Mike Elko?
Well, I'll tell you what you did. You went out and you spent $2.5 million on a defensive coordinator to make him the highest paid coordinator in all of college football, instead of going out and buying a defensive line like Ole Miss did. There's your problem. But for you to pay Blake Baker $2.5 million, everybody in this country that watches college football for 5 minutes, they could have told you what the Alabama game plan was going to be against LSU. I'm like, come on. You had 2 weeks to prepare for that? That was awful. I mean, I think there's more pressure on Brian Kelly next year than Hugh Freeze. And I would have told you before the game, I would have put Hugh Freeze on a hot seat list before I put Brian Kelly. But this is absurd. What you're paying him, what you're paying a so-called defensive coordinator, and you got ran out of your own stadium. I mean, I was watching social media, and the clips were hilarious of Alabama fans posting stuff, how that stadium was emptied out before halftime. So you can bring all your fake Tigers in and do all your neck and do all that other kind of stuff that you want to do there. But one thing's for sure, Alabama owns LSU in that stadium.
By the way, with neck, I did not realize until I looked it up on Saturday morning during game day what they were actually saying. Wow.
Oh, yeah. The fact that they were double dipped in that department on live television, I was a little surprised, but.
Well, the first time that McAfee called for it, you got a laugh from Saban. I said, well, Saban's laughing. It can't be too bad. And then I looked at the lyrics and I went, oh, okay. And I know like the second or third time that McAfee did it, and I think that was when they were up on the graph saying, all right, this college football team, stop, is when somebody, and that might have been Reese Davis, that said, hey, this is all on you. You calling for it again. But he...
They let it fly talking about the tenure and stuff, too, on Saturday. Yeah. They were just...
He's gotten away with worse this year.
Yeah.
Well, and LSU fans did not disappoint. Take a listen to Kirk Herbstreit appropriately calling the fan base inside Tiger Stadium.
We see it popping up in college football. Enough's enough, clowns. Just, what are you doing?
Agreed. It's not the first bottle ever been thrown on the field here. I can promise you as a sideline guy, we're in the 80s.
This is just stupid.
Yeah. These are water bottles. Back in the day, they were other kind of bottles. But, yeah, now it's a copycat situation.
Yeah, it's great. That's your home cheerleader.
And guess what? They're not going to review that and take the face mask off the board.
Just embarrassing to LSU. It's embarrassing to college football. And just around the country, just enough's enough, man.
All right, so I can't wait to see the SEC because you want to come after Texas for what they did. So you need to slam the book down, and you need to fine them about $500,000 for the crap that they did at Tiger Stadium. I'm so tired of it. I know I get on my soapbox about this all the time, about this, people storming the fields, people now throwing crap on the field because you've enabled all these people to do whatever they want to do.
It was also very obviously a face mask. I understand it was a pivotal situation in the game, but to see the review on the video board and then do that after seeing clearly that it was the right call, that's
the whole point.
Embarrassing.
And that's why Chris Fowler said now this is a copycat situation where now this has become the trend. This is something like I don't want to compare it to something that was meant for the positive, but viral things that happen on social media, whether it's a challenge, whether it's doing whatever, these kids are gravitating to it. I'm like you, Conrad. None of them were paying attention, though, to the replay. They didn't care. They saw one person throw trash, people start booing, and then all of a sudden, you know what? We don't like the way our team's performing. Let's do it as well. Let's see what happens, because obviously nothing happens when other fan bases have done that. So now we're at, for this season, for the SEC, we're at Texas. Was it Ole Miss that did it?
What, throwing stuff on the field? I don't remember Ole Miss throwing stuff on the field. I mean, they rushed the field.
Somebody else that did that. You're right. There's somebody else that did it in between now and Texas. I'm trying to remember who it was.
No, it wasn't Ole Miss this week. I was going back, but maybe it wasn't Ole Miss.
No, but it was somebody a couple of weeks ago that did something similar, yes.
Was it Tennessee?
Maybe. It might have been Tennessee.
Oh, Clemson. That's right. It was Clemson.
Damian, thank you. Yes, it was Clemson.
But once again, SEC, really easy to do it. Start finding these schools $1 million. I mean, because obviously they laugh. They say, "Oh, 250,000. That's no big deal. Whatever."
I was about to say the field storming stuff. They're going to pay that every time.
I mean, it's like, okay, whatever. We got on Sports Center. We're going to do sell videos. Oh, here's a blade of grass from the game. I saw where Garth Brooks had bought a piece of the field goal and put in his bar in Nashville of the Vanderbilt win against Alabama. Of course, he's got other problems, so I guess he was trying to divert from his side problems.
So,
I guess.
The Ole Miss fans, they were fined $75,000 last year. They threw trash on the field when a touchdown was upheld when Brian Thomas Jr. caught the pass in the 55-49 win that they had over LSU in Oxford. That's what That's what it was.
Well, and then a few years ago it was the mustard bottles and the
Well, that's the OG of trash throwing.
yeah, yes.
Ohio State did it too in the Nebraska game.
Well, the SEC just come on. Yeah, I mean, you got to do something. Have another committee meeting. Greg Byrne was in charge of that. Figure it out. But it's just stupid.
I was about to say, Greg Sankey came out firing about the fake injuries.
Yeah. So why don't you come out? Because they don't want to do that. They don't want to tamper down because that's what the SEC is known for. That's why you have 5,000 people credentialed for an SEC football media days, is because they want the freak show. They didn't have a problem with all those people showing up at the Winfrey with their colored dogs and their crazy outfits and trying to get autographs from people. The SEC loved that.
So my netting idea, 2 birds, 1 stone. Prevent fans from coming on the field and prevents trash from being thrown on the field. Just saying, it's still out there. Pending.
You see the warning signs, windows and doors that stick, cracks in the brick or block, leaning or bowing walls in your basement, settling or sinking. How much time before that minor repair becomes a serious structural damage? You can't afford to wait. Call APS for a free estimate today. 205-951-9717. That's 205-951-9717, or visit their website at alabamaprofessional.com.
It is Reaction Monday. We'll get to your text, 205-834-9450. Hugh Freeze, his press conference at the top of the hour. Kalen DeBoer, his press conference live from Tuscaloosa at noon. 3-man front and Jocks 94.5. 10:35 Reaction Monday here on 3-Man Front. Glad you're with us, whether you're listening on the Jocks 94.5 app, terrestrially, up in North Alabama. They're on the ump, or in the capital city of Montgomery on Sports Radio 740, or on Jocks TV. Just go to YouTube, search Jocks 945 TV, and all of our programming will pop up there where you can view and listen as you go on throughout, which today is an off day for a lot of you, and we appreciate all of our veterans, and we observe Veterans Day here on 3-Man Front and at Jocks 94.5. When it comes to your technology, don't settle for anything less than a winning team. Evolve IT, they're your trusted local IT partner. At Evolve IT, they're your MVPs for all things tech like network management, cybersecurity, and keeping your business systems running smoothly. No fumbles, no downtime, just expert support right here in Birmingham. They're ready to take your text game to the next level. Go online, evolvebhm.com. That's evolvebhm.com, or give them a call, 205-749-8970. That's Evolve IT.
Coming up at the top of the hour, we'll hear from Hugh Freeze as the Auburn Tigers get back on the field, as they will play this Saturday against University of Louisiana Monroe. Auburn is a 24-point favorite currently. La Monroe enters Saturday's game on a 3-game losing streak. They're sitting 5th in the Sun Belt Conference. The Warhawks committed 2 turnovers and gave up nearly 400 yards of offense in their last contest as they fell to Texas State 38-17. So Brian Vincent will be bringing his Warhawks to Auburn coming up. That is an 11:45 kick. 205-834-9450. That is the text line, and I know that they have been coming in fast and furious since we came on the air at 10.
They have. Michael texts into the show, and he says, guys, seriously, I've been watching Alabama football for 45 years. Somebody please tell me what's so great about Saturday night at Tiger Stadium. Live Tiger on the sideline, grr. Nighttime in Death Valley, error. Blah, blah, blah. Well, it's tough for a lot of teams, just not Alabama.
You know, Matt Moscona brought up this fact that maybe the Tiger will be retired again because this is going to go down as one of those things. Remember when Georgia did the blackout against Alabama, when Julio Jones and John Parker Wilson and Alabama just absolutely waxed the floor with them between the hedges. And then Georgia swore that they would never wear black jerseys again. They changed that a couple years later. But this Tiger ridiculousness that they had before the game, I'm not sure if they got it from Carol Baskin or, you know.
It didn't, and I mean, I don't know what a Tiger normally does, but it didn't do anything.
It's called tramadol, man.
It just, I mean, I guess, but it was weird because they, you know, toted it out there on the field for a couple minutes and then took it right off the field.
And the cage was so, I mean, it was like you couldn't hardly see into the cage.
Yeah, it was.
That Tiger's
bizarre.
used to birthday parties. And
I was about to say, I was like, okay, when the crowd gets going, maybe it'll roar or something. Nope.
But back in 1995, LSU wore purple pants for one of their games, and they lost. And they swore that they would never do that again. I doubt very seriously that you're going to ever see that Tiger roaming the sideline again.
Did you see where the Tiger came from?
Yeah, it was a Florida. It was a Florida Tiger. They didn't even get one from the state of Louisiana. Nope.
Yeah, and I saw there was some controversy with the person that it came from had some...
yeah. If you go do a search on the person they got the Tiger from,
yeah, not great.
Supposedly there's all these PETA violations that go on and on and on.
What if they brought Carol Baskin out and she was in like full Tiger print with her face painted?
And her second husband?
Is that the one?
Still alive?
Is that the one they can't find?
Is the second husband? No, the first one they haven't.
The first one they haven't found. The
Aren't they
second
convinced
one
though
is,
that he
yes,
possibly
jetted off somewhere?
I
thought it was eaten by a tiger.
Yeah, she fed him to one of the tigers.
Well, that was one of the theories.
That was a fun time in this country.
I like to think that he's just hanging out
everybody was
on an
watching
island.
Tiger King. Yeah. What a time that was.
This one rolls in. Oh, I cannot wait to hear from Bama Hater today. Let's see what excuses he comes up with. Well, ask and you shall receive.
Did he chime in?
He has chimed in. I have not had a chance to proofread it yet.
Oh, okay. I didn't think we'd hear from him this week.
What do you think of Alabama's chances of going undefeated the rest of the season? The rest of the regular season, I think they're outstanding. Would you guys agree?
Yeah, they should be.
Alabama's got a 76% chance of making the college football playoff. So
Just don't stub your toe against Oklahoma or Auburn. I think Mercer will be okay.
This one comes in. Coach Kalen DeBoer did something in his first season that Saban could not do, and that's win a game in November. Remember, Saban was 0-4 in his first season, including the loss to La Monroe. Okay, that is fair, but you look at the roster talent that Nick Saban had.
It's a little different.
It's a lot different. But you were being kind, Conrad. Anthony says, Anthony's an optimistic Auburn fan. What are you guys' thoughts on Auburn basketball taking down Houston Saturday night and becoming the number 1 team in the nation on Ken Palm? Well, overcoming adversity. When we all started getting the text on Friday night that their team plane had to be rerouted and go back, and then there were reports and speculation on who it was. Now, if it had been the original people that were mentioned in someone's tweet, players, there would be concern, but it's 2 newcomers, and you got a transfer, and you have a freshman that apparently were doing some roughhousing, and then it got serious. And the flight crew said, you know what? Nope, not going to do it.
This audio courtesy of the FAA.
We have got an altercation on board. We knocked to declared emergency and land. We got a bunch of basketball players fighting. The flight deck is secure. The threat level is contained for the moment. We just had police on the ground, and we had 2 players that got into physical altercation. Clothes were ripped, and 1 bloody player.
Welcome aboard. And welcome aboard.
And there were some very popular videos circulating from the win over Vermont that I think you could maybe draw some ideas as to why there was an altercation on the plane.
Well, good news is Auburn won a basketball game, and they did it against a very good team. So, long way to answer your question there, Anthony. We appreciate it.
Have you ever heard, though, I don't know if I've ever heard of audio from a pilot involving a sports team that was being, you'll hear crazy stuff sometimes, or, somebody goes over and does a funny.
I'm sure it gets pretty wild on some
city.
NFL charter flights, especially when you're going overseas and you probably
possibly
have a few drinks.
I've heard of it happening on team buses before, but you don't get the FAA
exactly
recording.
Just being on Twitter and going, oh, pilot cockpit audio. What's this?
You don't get the cell from Dale, the bus driver.
No,
calling back to the folks that own the buses, going, yeah, I'm not sure what to do here. I'm just going to pull off this rest area.
I would assume those 2 players are no longer involved with the Auburn basketball program.
I do not know.
Don't know. Bruce Pearl said that they're going to deal with it head on. It's an unfortunate situation, and he wasn't going to talk about it anymore Saturday.
I like the players after they won. They were running around like they were an airplane, with their arms out running around. That was fun.
Hey, you make light of it.
I was about to say,
embrace it.
Hey, you overcame it and you got a huge win, so might as well.
We'll continue with your text 205-834-9450. And Reed says, is it a hot take to say South Carolina is a better team than LSU?
I mean, I think at this point in the season, you could definitely make that case. And as Pat brought up earlier, there was some questionable officiating in that matchup early in the year.
Bama hater. Here it is. He says, I guess it's just me, but is Pat overly excited about Alabama being 7-2? Still out there, the SEC championship game, and 1 loss from playoff elimination. Happy Veterans Day to me and all the vets. For active duty, 6 Navy reserves. Bama hater, thank you for your service once again. But I think that
Pat's excited because Ole Miss beat Georgia.
You better believe it.
Yeah, Colonel Pat is more excited about that win and Lane doing something historic. We will continue with your text, 205-834-9450. The phone lines are open as well. If you would like to chime in with your voice, 800-239-WJOX. Hugh Freeze, top of the hour. Kalen DeBoer at noon. 3-man front reaction Monday on Jocks 94.5.
It's been a while since we've heard from Hugh Freeze. We will hear from him at the top of the hour as he welcomes the Warhawks from Louisiana Monroe there at Jordan-Hare Stadium. As Auburn backs against the wall, they have to win their next 3 games to become bowl eligible, something that I did not think that we'd be saying on this November day. But that's where we are with this Auburn football program.
Well, Big Whiskey's is the place for great food of all varieties with a full menu ranging from apps, salads, burgers to steaks, and their bar features unique cocktails, over 120 whiskeys, including whiskey on tap, and plenty of screens to catch all of the games all weekend long. This holiday season, let Big Whiskey's do all the work for you, as they can cater for your business or social party of any size. Check them out in the Stadium Choice Village off Highway 150 near the Hoover Met.
Phone lines are open, 800-239-WJOX. It is Reaction Monday. Let's go to Don. Don, welcome in.
Good morning, everybody. How y'all doing?
Doing great. Hope you are.
Oh, yes, sir. My weekend was great because of my Auburn basketball game, and I know a lot of people didn't get to watch that game, Landrum, but that was a great ball game, and I know we had a problem, and I agree with you guys. I'm hoping that Pearl does the right thing and removes those 2 guys off the team.
Well, it was 2 guys that were going to be in support roles anyways, but Tahad Pettiford is the story from Saturday night and him taking over that basketball game.
Oh, my goodness. Did that kid ever play? When you're talking about a breakout game and everything, I knew the kid was going to be good, Landrum, but, he was a borderline kind of 4 and low 5-star, but he's one of the best guards in the country, and of all places, New Jersey.
Yeah. Well, it was like they said on the broadcast. He was ranked the 37th best player coming out of high school, and the guy said if there's 36 more, and then he stopped and he said, no, I can go ahead and tell you, there's not 36 better players. He took over that game.
Exactly. But to all my Alabama friends out there, congratulations on your victory. And Pat, Landrum, Molly, and Conrad, now I got a bunch of questions to ask you, Pat. I know the tiebreaker that probably doesn't go into the playoff system, but basically, what is the criteria for the SEC championship game? I know it's head-to-head first, but everybody's played everybody. Is it going to be by rankings? Going to end up probably being by the rankings of the team, probably.
Are you talking about for the SEC championship game, or are you talking about for the college football playoff?
No, Pat. The SEC championship game.
Okay.
First.
Okay, bear with me a second, and I could try to explain this the best that I can in the best terms that I can. I got a lot of text messages yesterday from people because it's a mess. All right, so the number 1 spot in the SEC title game, as long as Texas beats Arkansas and Kentucky, and if Texas A&M beats Auburn, then the Longhorns and Aggies game on November 30th will be played between the conference-only remaining 1-loss teams, with the winner earning a spot in Atlanta. Does that make sense for the first spot?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Now, for the number 2 spot, it could be captured by Tennessee. If it beats Georgia next week and wins at Vanderbilt in the regular season finale, but if Georgia beats Tennessee, then here comes the fun with the tiebreakers. There could be 6 teams with a 6-2 record behind Texas A&M at 7-1. And Alabama, at the moment, they have several paths to break the tiebreaker because the handful of 6-2 teams did not all play each other, or one team did not beat or lose to all the other teams. Then the head-to-head records will be moot in the SEC's new tiebreakers adopted this offseason. Instead, conference opponents' win percentage would become the first tiebreaker for second place, and how that shakes out would depend on how the remaining 3 weeks of the SEC schedule plays out. Now, if we presume that all the favorites win the rest of the way, then Alabama would edge LSU in opponent win percentage to earn the number 2 spot in the standings and go to Atlanta to play either Texas or Texas A&M. Now, if Georgia beats Tennessee, it's actually the results of Missouri's remaining games that would seem to tip the scales between Alabama or LSU making the SEC championship game to play Texas A&M or Texas. Missouri played Alabama this season, but not LSU, and Mizzou has remaining games against South Carolina, Mississippi State, and at home against Arkansas. Missouri losing 2 of those games would seemingly put LSU in the title game. So Bama needs to root for Missouri based on that scenario, Don, that I just laid out. I know that's very convoluted, but as of this moment, I think I tried to do the best I could to explain where we are with all these tiebreakers.
Okay, now my next question is just use this scenario.
Auburn has been eliminated, if you're asking me. Auburn is no longer eligible to win the SEC title game.
No, no, I definitely wasn't asking that. But say if this happens, guys, what if Alabama goes to the conference game and ends up losing and has that third loss? Do you think that would knock them out of the playoff?
Possibly.
We don't know.
Now, it's interesting because Reese Davis did ask CFP Selection Committee Chairman Ward Manuel about that scenario last week, and this is exactly what Ward Manuel said. He says, we haven't talked about it this year. In the past couple of years, we've looked at it, and it's been different reasons and different ways that we've looked at it as it relates to the outcome of the teams of the ranking. We try not to punish, but we also are watching the games. I think that's important for us as we deliberate and really talk about what we see going into it, not just they lost, but how did the game proceed?
Exactly. So it's almost an advantage for the team with 2 losses not to go that game.
Correct. I was talking to Conrad about this morning. If you're an Alabama football fan, I would not be trying to, get a brain freeze over figuring out how you can get to the SEC championship game. You win the rest of your games, you're going to the college football playoff. Now, the difference in you potentially getting a bye and having to go somewhere potentially and playing, I know that's a big deal, but based on the way this season has gone and losing to Vanderbilt, I think you go ahead and take the win and get into the CFP and go from there.
Okay. Well, one last thing, guys. I know you got my coach coming up in a minute. I've heard this morning on some other podcasts that Peyton Thorne during the off week has not been getting the number 1 reps. Have been given the number 1 reps to Hank Brown and Walker White. Supposedly, Thorne is hurt, and that's why he didn't practice. So look for Hank Brown to start Saturday. I think you're going to hear Hugh Freeze announce that today, possibly, or Wednesday on the teleconference.
Don, thank you for the phone call. We appreciate it. We'll continue with your phone calls and your texts as well. Let's go to Chris. He's been waiting. Chris, what's up?
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, lift the tide, if you will.
How are you?
Let's see. Let's see the things you like to see a checklist. Bama going and handling business and dominating, even though we still have a lot to tune up more, because still had a couple of missed passes on offense. Defense still got to get better on that run defense, because the LSU still drove down the field. And see, as far as special teams, they got the kicking game together. Let's see, after that.
Were those really your main takeaways from that game Saturday?
Oh, yeah, because it's not about just winning. It's about dealing how you win it, because the winning will look at that too. So
you're a tough critic, Chris. We appreciate the phone call. We'll continue in the next hour. We'll take your text, your phone calls as well. Hugh Freeze, maybe we'll find out on the quarterback situation heading into the Louisiana Monroe game. Woohoo! For the Auburn Tigers. His presser's next. 3-man front. Reaction Monday here on Jocks 94.5. Happy Veterans Day to all of our veterans.
It is Reaction Monday. We're awaiting Hugh Freeze's weekly press conference as the Tigers get ready to take on the Louisiana Monroe Warhawks coming up this weekend. Do something about that tree before it falls on the house. Call Goldston Tree Service at 205-337-4018, operated by a certified arborist. Goldston Tree Service handles those little jobs like trimming hedges or shaping trees to those hazardous jobs like line clearance and big jobs like complete tree removals with cranes, grinding the stump and roots out and hauling off to the last twig. Complete removal. Bucket trucks make it easy for them. They also offer spikeless climbing, makes it easy on your trees. Like you, they care about what your tree looks like when they're done. They also have 24-hour emergency storm work service. Call them today, 205-337-4018 at Goldston Tree Service. We've been taking your calls and your texts this morning. It's been a lively Reaction Monday. Alabama winning 42-13. Tomorrow night, we will see how much they jump up in the CFP rankings, how much the Georgia Bulldogs. It's a must-win situation for them coming up this weekend at home against the Tennessee Volunteers as they lose to the Ole Miss Rebels. The Rebels now, they went up 32% according to the ESPN FPI. They have a bye this week. Then they're at Florida. Then they have the Egg Bowl at home against Mississippi State. They were at about 30% before the Georgia game, potentially, of going to the college football playoff. It is now up to 61%. That is the 11th best odds, according to ESPN, to make the college football playoff. Meanwhile, Alabama went up 21% after their win over LSU. They're now up to 76%. They will take on Mercer this weekend at home, on the road at Oklahoma, where Conrad supposedly is going to be there.
I'll be there.
Are you still going?
Yes.
Do you have your tickets?
Yes.
Do you have your travel itinerary?
Yes.
You flying Southwest?
No, we are actually driving now.
You're driving.
Whoa. Okay. That'd be fun.
How many's going?
3. A lot of bonding time.
So it's you and your father, right?
It's me, my stepdad, and my stepbrother.
Okay. All right.
Should be a good time.
Winnebago?
No, we'll just be taking the old truck.
You gonna take one of those Sooner Schooners with the horses? I'd say you need to probably leave now.
Yeah, I was about to say.
You gonna stop in Arkansas? Do anything fun?
Never mind.
I don't know.
I'm not.
Go stay with Ty tonight.
Yes. Oh, perfect. Perfect.
See?
We're gonna plan your weekend.
I'll just spend the weekend with him.
Yeah.
He might not let me leave once I go visit. So
you and Ty hang out, go play some golf.
that's right.
Yep.
He owes me some karaoke still.
I think he enjoys the nature trail or two.
That's fine. I like that.
You guys could go and do that.
Long walks on the beach. There are beaches in Arkansas, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe a prepared picnic, little blanket.
They got some hot springs in Arkansas.
Enjoy God's beauty.
Ooh, okay,
now you're talking, Pat.
Mhm.
I can rub the mud all over myself and whatnot. Oh, okay.
Well, you don't have to do the mud thing.
It's quite relaxing.
You go to the.
I've done that before.
Just go to the Clinton Library and Museum.
Yep.
Do they have the tie, or do they have the dress? Do they have that?
The blue one
in the museum?
Wasn't it a blue one?
I think so.
Yeah.
I don't know who has that. I don't know if it's in Clinton's museum or. I'm just curious.
It's under lock and key.
Okay. Well,
Maybe
speaking of
somewhere.
Bill Clinton, let's go down to Auburn now and hear from Hugh Freeze at his weekly press conference.
Yeah, it's been a good open week, and now it's time to get back to try to improve and get back in Jordan Hare and try to get us a win. And our kids continue to practice hard, and the staff's working hard, and I'm really proud of just them sticking to it. And obviously, in what's been a disappointing year, the good ones, man, they fight, and really have been pleased for the most part with everyone in this building. And now we get another challenge at home against a much improved team. Coach Vincent's done a really nice job there in turning that program very, very fast. Outstanding running back.